Yeah, yeah. Like benefits is an interesting topic, as you said, because it's also interesting for your employer. They like instead of giving you salary, like they don't have to pay then tax on the social contributions, so it's cheaper for them, right? So instead of giving you 100 euros more, like giving you 100 euros in a meal voucher or like company pension, is actually a lot less money for them. So it's interesting to have an idea of what your company is actually offering. Like one thing that companies definitely offer, at least if they are more than a handful of employees, is, as you said, it's company pension. So that's something you can be relatively sure that your company is offering it, and they also have to, by law, tell you about it and inform you about it. So that is something you should be hopefully aware of. Some companies do a better job at explaining to you their company pensions. Others just brush it off a little. Oftentimes that already is not a good sign, because that probably means, the company pension is not the best. Companies pensions vary quite a bit in quality. And what I can generally say is that bigger companies, especially if they have a strong workers union, do have quite good schemes for employees, generally speaking. And smaller companies, especially the ones, like startups, usually they just brush off the topics. They do the bare minimum and don't necessarily focus too much on if what they actually offering is the best for their employees, because
I think it's also a lot of overhead for them, right?
it's overhead.
And
It's overhead.
we talked about that earlier, that startups then rather choose the equity bucket. And that's also like in terms of attracting talent, people who go for startups, especially earlier stage, are
Yeah,
also a bit more on the risk taker side. So they like the equity more than company pensions, right? So I think
exactly.
there's a like demand
Mm.
versus offer sort of dynamic at play also. It's not just saying that startups are like, why do they not do company pensions?
I
It's
don't know,
just like
like, I mean,
also
it's
the
about
attraction.
like also the incentives, right? As a
Yeah.
startup, people join startups because they want to build something, they want to participate from the growth of the startup and from their work right now, right? And
Yeah.
for established companies, like if you take the time to actually develop a person, you would want to, and probably want to keep them, right? Like you have some stability and you would want to keep them around. So like you offer them something also for the long-term future, because often people then also imagine themselves working much longer for an established company than for a startup, right? So like it makes sense that startups focus a little bit less on the company pension, a bit more on the equity, for example. But just for people to have an idea when they join a company of what they can expect, right? What kind of quality they can usually reckon with, and if it would make sense to really go into a lot of detail with the company, understanding the product. Overall, company pensions can be very vastly different. It's an umbrella term. It has some basics, that the basic structure, but the products underneath can be very different. The basic structure is you get money out of your gross salary, right? So before tax and social contributions that you contribute, for example, to this pension. And your employer also then doesn't have to pay the contributions on their side, so it's also good for them. Um, and because they don't have to do that, they do have to match this contribution. And the legal minimum for this is 15%. If they only do 15%, actually, then they do save more on social contribution than they are using for matching your contributions. So 15% is actually for the company in the end a benefit, more than anything else.
It's a
If
good
you
way to
take it,
frame it, actually.
yeah, like they make, it's more money in their pocket because yeah, it's cheaper anyways. Um, but yeah, so how it works is you take your money out of your gross salary. You don't have the tax and social contributions, um, like on that contribution, but then later on you fully tax. So like company pensions often can look very good when you just look at how much your contribution is and how much it's actually taking from your net salary. But you should be aware that those benefits can have also negative consequences on the long term. So it's very important to actually look at it from a financial planning perspective, not just how much money are you actually contributing to your pension scheme, but also what's the payout and what's the tax structure at your pension age, right? So it's really something that like when looking at those products, that you should look at holistically and that you should look over the complete timeline, which can be tricky. And there it's important just that you have somebody that can explain you the product that you're having from a neutral point of view. Because for company pensions, if it's an insurance company, usually talk to somebody that wants to sell you that product and oftentimes gets a commission. So that's again why it's good to get a secondary opinion. If you have somebody at your company that can explain you the terms exactly, then that is super helpful. If not, then it makes sense, I think, to talk to somebody neutral that explains to the product in detail and shows you what the implications and the payouts actually are.
Yeah. So sum it up, company pensions can be very tricky. They work in, you contribute from your gross salary and there's an employer matching contribution. The higher, the better. The minimum's 15. It can go up to a multiple 100%. I think they're quite flexible there. And then what's important is to look at behind the curtain in what the company pension actually does, what's invested, what it is investing in, when you can get your money out. And one other point is also like how they work in terms of when you actually leave the company and or when you switch companies, right? Like some of them you can take to a new company and they will continue it, but mostly they don't. So then you need to have a strategy. It's like, okay, I'm gonna maybe, is there a possibility for me to stop contributions and it's just gonna, run until I retire and then I get money. So these are the factors that you need to consider for that.